We're four friends who live across the globe
and share a love of Bon Appétit's YouTube channel.
So we came together to bring you our thoughts on what BA serves up.
And try our hands at recreating their dishes.
Welcome to Bon Appétit!
Hi, I'm Amanda.
Hey, it's Justine.
Hi, it's LJ.
And it's me, Meg.
Welcome back to another episode of Bon Appétit. We're all here.
We are all here.
It's a full house.
Back together.
Missed you.
Bingo.
I missed you guys too.
Well, let's start things off with what have we been up to culinary-wise this week?
Well, I have been following my pattern of just making what LJ's made. I promise I won't talented Mr. Ripley you, probably. But
okay.
I made Delaney's Rent Week rice noodles with crispy pork. Those were
Yum.
super good. I do think I followed his directions to crisp the pork pretty well, but I could have taken it even a step further and gone even crispier. But I would definitely make them again, so noted for next time. I also made Andy's spicy, lightly pickled cucumbers again. Super easy, super quick pickles, very tasty. And the new recipe I made was Emil's all-American cheeseburger one word pasta. So,
Wow.
yeah, I was expecting cheeseburger flavor, but in pasta form. And while I didn't quite get that, I mean, it has cheese, it has hamburger. It was very tasty. I would have probably more described it as fancy hamburger helper. And they do actually reference hamburger helper in the recipe description. So I'm not quite sure why they didn't just call it that. I don't know, but it's really good. It had cavatappi pasta. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's little ridged tubes that are kind of spirally.
I've had that.
Oh, yeah, it's good. It's a fun shape, but it kind of likes to roll off the fork a lot. But it's pretty fun otherwise. And ground beef, cheddar, Parmesan, peppercini peppers, canned tomatoes. So it's got tomato and cheese and beef, the sort of flavors you'd expect from a cheeseburger, I guess. I also got a big old box of Diamond Crystal kosher salt so that I can be a proper BA chef now.
You live in that Salt Bay life.
Yeah, exactly. So I won't have to think about conversions or any of that, and I can just hopefully trust their salt recommendations.
I know we talked about the conversions like in our Bon Appetit Slack, but for the listeners, can you explain what the difference is? Because I didn't understand until you guys said something in Slack.
Sure. So apparently Diamond Crystal brand of kosher salt has bigger flakes of salt and they're lighter. So if you're measuring out, say, a teaspoon of Diamond Crystal salt, it will actually have less salt than a teaspoon of Morton salt because the Morton salt has smaller crystals, denser, more tightly packed. So it seems like maybe a lot of reasons why you might see comments online about stuff being oversalted or too salty. I think a lot of home chefs have smaller crystals of salt that's denser, and therefore they get a saltier dish in the end. And we have noticed on more recent recipes that they do tend to say a teaspoon of Diamond Crystal or half a teaspoon of other type of salt. So it seems like they've been hearing that feedback, but you know, it was pretty cheap, the box, so I just thought I would go for it and not have to think about conversions.
Sounds good. I had an exciting cooking experience this week because my cookbook club, for our December meeting, we always do a canapé special where we all make 2 canapés each. And the rules are a bit looser. Like normally when we do our meals each month, they have to be from like a book that you've chosen and you're like reviewing how good the book is and the recipes are. But for canapés, we don't confine ourselves to a book. It's just kind of make 2 canapés, see which recipes we like the best, because you don't tend to get many books that have canapé recipes in them. So I thought this year I would do some BA recipes. So I did Sarah Jampel, who's a basically editor. She has a recipe for spinach and feta tarte soleil, which is the kind of twisty pastry thing that looks like a sun that you've seen probably on all the Basically Instagram accounts recently. And then I also did Molly's mozzarella arancini with chili kind of oil sauce. It was a whole thing. Not easy. But I would say the tarte Soleil was actually fairly straightforward. It was a little bit fiddly because obviously you're working with pastry, but at least it's like pre-made pastry. The filling was kind of easy to do. With the spinach, you use like frozen spinach and defrost it. The hardest bit was getting all the water and as much moisture out of the spinach as possible. You just do that through a tea towel and like squeeze the fuck out of it. But then you mix it with like feta, some scallions, like some nice seasonings, and then spread that between two circles of pastry. And then you kind of cut slits, leaving like a kind of shot glass that you use a shot glass to do like a indentation in the middle, so you don't cut all the way through the middle, but you do kind of spokes of a wheel or a sun, I guess. And then you twist them around and then you bake it for like half an hour. So it's a little fiddly, but not difficult. And that went down really well. It looks really impressive when it comes out. Because it's nice and golden brown and people are like, oh my God, how did you make it? And it's like, oh, it's easy, it's fine. So you kind of tear from the middle out and it comes out in the nice little kind of portioned sticks, I suppose. So people like that. But then the arancini was like a big thing. I would say do not undertake this recipe lightly because it is a whole lot of steps. So first of all, you have to make a risotto, like a Parmesan risotto, which is a whole thing in and of itself. But I did that, and I would have been happy to just serve bowls of that, to be honest, but that's not really a canapé. So once you've done that, you then spread it all out on a sheet tray to cool down. I actually left it overnight in the fridge. Once it's cooled and kind of set a bit, like congealed, you then take a 1/4 cup measure and scoop 1/4 cup out and like flatten it in your palm, shove some mozzarella in the middle and like form it into a ball around the mozzarella. So then you've got loads of like rice balls. Then you have to do like a 3 dredge process of like flour, egg wash and panko breadcrumbs. Then you have to deep fry those and then you're done. Wow. And then obviously you have to make the chili sauce, but that's super easy. That's just like chili and oil and some seasoning. But yeah, the arancini took hours over the course of a couple of days, but they were fucking delicious and they were really, really good. So I would say if you really want to go all out and impress, it's one to do. It's not difficult. I would say it just takes a lot of time. The thing I was most nervous about was the deep frying because I don't do a lot of deep frying. I was worried that I'd made this like beautiful risotto and put lots of love into the risotto, then I would just ruin it at the frying stage, but that didn't happen. Thankfully, it went fine. Also, they're not small. They're big boys. They are like a whole thing to eat, but they are delicious. Everybody loved them. So
did you win?
So the arancini came second by 1 point, and the only thing that let it down was that people said they were big, which for a canapé, I guess you don't want. Like for a starter, you could have like 2, and that would be amazing, like an appetizer. But for a canapé, they are quite big, but they are very good. So that was the only thing that let it down.
I'm sure if you were in America, everyone would not have cared.
Yeah, us British people with our like not wanting to get full and like maybe that would have been better. I should have served them over there. But yeah, it was good.
I didn't do a lot as per usual, though. From the last time I was on the podcast, Thanksgiving happened, and I did make some corn casserole and some cookies for Thanksgiving. That the cookies were a big hit. Everybody enjoyed those. And then I made a frozen pizza last night when I got home.
Yummy.
It was a garlic bread pizza, so it was super delicious.
Nice.
But I've been working a lot, so I haven't really had time to make stuff as much as like just sort of like piecemeal a couple things together and, you know, just eat when I'm on my lunch break or at dinner or whatever. I did go to my favorite Indian restaurant in Columbus, Ob, and at lunch they do a buffet. and I tried some new Indian food that I'd never tried before.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
it was very good. It was green, but with cheese. And
Yep.
Yeah, it's saag paneer.
okay,
Yeah.
and I'd never tried it before because it was green. I'll admit, I was that asshole. And it was really good, and I liked it with the basmati rice and everything. So,
Nice.
Nice. There is a BA recipe for that.
Oh, yum.
what about you, Justine?
Well, same. Yeah, after Thanksgiving and then my side dish episode, I was pretty like tapped out, plus had a lot of leftovers to eat, but also working. So I've been just like eating out a lot. My favorite, vegan restaurants around, just ordering lunch. But I'm really proud of myself because last week I made a pound of pasta and ate it throughout the week for lunches. I made what I had made before, which is my lemon asparagus pasta, which is not a BA recipe, but still, yes, very yum and easy to make. That I know I'm super proud of myself, super happy that I like stayed up a little bit on like Sunday night to just like make a dish that would like last me through the week, which I haven't been able to do lately. I've just been tired, but I've got like next week is Christmas, so I've got a week off from work essentially to get back on track, and I got a new KitchenAid mixer, and
Yeah.
It's so pretty.
yeah, everybody's kind of been asking me like, what's the first thing you're gonna make with it? And I'm like, I don't know.
Possibilities are endless.
I
Yeah.
know.
Does it have a dough hook?
I'm not allowed to open the box yet for Christmas.
Oh, I see.
But the picture at the top, has the regular paddle, it has the whisk paddle, and it has the dough hook.
Yeah,
So,
I was going to say, if it's anything like mine, it comes with those three. Yeah.
I was just going to suggest bread of some kind because the dough hook makes it real easy.
Yeah.
that sounds complicated. Suddenly making donuts.
Yeah, cut to Justine on having a day 3 crisis.
It's a disaster. Yeah, that's what I'll be doing over Christmas. So I'm sure you'll hear about that on our next recap episode.
Yay.
All right, back to you, Amanda.
Well, all right. So, since it's a recap episode, we have some videos to talk about. And after some supersized episodes, we're a little more normal size. I think
Thank you.
everyone was a little relieved about that. So, on the menu for today's episode, we have Sohla makes red lentil zucchini fritters from the test kitchen. Pastry chef attempts to make gourmet warheads. Gourmet makes. Brad and Orville Peck make elote. It's alive. Pro chefs guess and make a recipe based on ingredients alone. Test kitchen talks. Rick makes tie-dye cookies from the test kitchen. Chris makes easy chocolate cake from the test kitchen. Ninja tries to keep up with a professional chef, a back-to-back chef. Pro chefs challenged to plate an avocado in 1 minute. Test kitchen talks. And pastry chef attempts to make gourmet Milky Way bars. Gourmet makes. So let's get started with Sohla makes red lentil zucchini fritters.
Yay, Sohla.
Yeah, dude, we were just saying in our last episode, we're like, man, I want a Sohla video. And then, right the
Boom.
next day,
I'm so
Sohla's
happy.
first video.
I'm so happy for her. I want more Sohla videos. She's so cute.
Mhm.
She really is. I was happy to finally have a Sohla video. That's kind of hard to say. I really like her energy because she's such a great instructor. Of all of the BA chefs, I really like her approach. She's very clear. She's very detailed about why she's doing something when. And she's not overly cutesy about it, which, sometimes there's a time and place for, let's say, abbreviating everything. But sometimes it's kind of nice to just have a straightforward episode. So I enjoyed it a lot.
I liked it, and I also loved that she was like new to filming. Like they left in the bits where they kept, she would be like, "Oh, are we still rolling? I forgot." Like, that was so cute. I really liked that, and I really liked that. We got a little background of like how she joined the test kitchen. Like Chris hired her, which I had no idea about, and I thought that was really interesting. And it was nice to see a bit of their dynamic as well. Like Chris was in the background, and he was kind of like looking out for her, like saying that thing about like, "Oh, no hazing ritual," and I just thought that was really cool. But yeah, it was really nice to see her like front and center of a video. I loved it.
I felt like Chris had proud/protective dad vibes for this whole video, because since he had kind of been the one to hire her, he wanted to make sure she was doing a good job.
And it was so funny that she chose this recipe as well, like the one that got her the job to do as her first video. I like that as well.
I mean, I'm sure he was there doing work, but it kind of felt like he was just like standing by in case she needed a little bit of like a helping hand or support or something.
Well, I'm pretty sure probably producers chose that this dish would be the one that she was presenting. I've been actually really interested in Sohla and learning her background. I read an article on her this past week that she did a couple years ago, long before she joined the test kitchen. And it talked about how her and her husband had a restaurant that failed. And the whole article was about how people want pretty much chefs of color to only present and make the food of their cultural background and won't accept food that is quote unquote like white food, even though if you're a culinary chef, what the process you're learning through is essentially you are going to like study like French cuisine and stuff like that. And that's pretty much like, if you think about like that was like her major, that was the food that she loved making, but presenting that in a restaurant setting, people didn't like it. They were like, nope, that's not what I'm expecting from a person that looks like you. So her and her husband's restaurant failed.
Wow.
Did you read this article, Meg?
I did read it. I found it very interesting, and I'm glad that you shared it with us. And another interesting point in that was that she is Bengali American and grew up in California. So a lot of, or pretty much all of the discrimination that she faced was people saw what she looked like and instantly made assumptions that they should be expecting, quote, ethnic food or exotic food, and that someone of color might not have the culinary chops to present American food, whereas, of course, white chefs can get away with appropriating other culinary techniques and foods and then be lauded for it. And as the article And as the article pointed out, white chefs can charge more for the same food. So it was a very enlightening article, but also kind of depressing. And I just really hope that Sohla has found a good home here at BA, because it sounds like she's had a lot of hurdles. I don't know too much about her tenure at Serious Eats, but I do know that it ended on not a high note. She used to work at Serious Eats before Bon Appétit, and she tweeted, "One day women of color won't have to choose between tolerating discrimination or quitting their jobs, but not today." So those are about all the details I have, but it sounds like she was not treated fairly at Serious Eats either.
Wow. Well, I second your hope that she's, a lot happier at BA for sure. Yeah. But I think it's great on the one hand that she's been outspoken about it. I think a lot of people of colour feel like they, especially in a professional setting, can't say what's happened to them for fear of retribution, like further on in their career or not getting hired somewhere else. It's really shit that it happens, but when it happens, I think it's important to speak about it, because if it's hidden, then you can't change it. Oh man, yeah, no, I really hope things are better at BA for her.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw Rick also put out an article this week about how BA lets him express who he is. Yes. So I am hopeful of her new home at BA.
Yeah, that was an interesting article as well. Not to take away from Sohla, but just the fact that Rick's mentioned in the past that when he's done things for other publications, he's felt like he couldn't wear his nail varnish, or he couldn't, wear his flashy snazzy shirts that we all have come to love, like, because, people wouldn't accept it. But at BA, like, they are encouraging of their chefs to be who they are. And that's what I love about it. They're all different. They all have, like, different experiences, different backgrounds, and that's what makes them all so lovable and unique and interesting as chefs. So yeah, I'm glad that Sohla's somewhere where she's more valued.
Okay, let's talk about her fritters.
Yeah.
I bookmarked this recipe weeks and weeks ago when it first came out, so I was really happy to see a video to accompany it. I thought it sounded delicious. Of course, as I've said many times on this podcast, frying isn't my favorite thing, but I think I might make an exception for this recipe.
It looked delicious from my perspective as well. Like, I love fritters of any description. I'm a bit like you, Meg, in that I'm apprehensive of frying stuff myself. I much prefer to have things fried for me. And actually, after my arancini experience, I'm kind of like, I don't want to fry anything for a little while. But these look really nice. I'd be quite happy for someone else to cook them for me. They look great.
I had a production side question, particularly for you, Justine. Did anybody else notice, like, whenever she was over near the stove, the sound sounded really windy?
Yeah, that's happens on, I think, nearly all the videos. It's probably because there's
The fan?
The vents.
over the stoves.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. For some reason, it just was really noticeable to me in this one. And I was just like, oh, that's strange. Like, I guess I feel like there's a sound quality difference, but I really felt like I could hear wind in this one.
Yeah, and I don't think they use any noise reduction on their audio tracks because they want to get that sound of, like, people in the background and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They would have to, like, re-put that all in there if they stripped it out.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's true.
I also really liked the recipe. As Priya noted in the video, it's very similar to an Indian snack. So I showed this video to a special Indian fella in my life.
Yeah.
He was also interested. He does not cook that often. He cooks a little bit, but he's like, "Oh, you want to make these?" And I was like, "Sure, let's." And I think maybe at some point we will make them because
Make them.
Yeah.
Do it together. It will be so cute.
As long as one of you doesn't say that you've become parsley agnostic, I'll allow it. Because what the fuck?
No, this is me and Chris aligning spiritually again. I am also parsley agnostic.
Next up, we have Pastry Chef attempts to make gourmet warheads.
Hey, I liked this one.
After listening to the last episode, I thought Justine's going to like this one because Claire seemed happy. She got to be creative and inventive. And something that I've had a little bit of trouble with in recent episodes is that I feel like a lot of times she hasn't actually improved on the original. It's just sort of been running out of time or giving up or being, like, good enough. So, of course, it's hard to say when we, the viewer, can't taste it. But I feel like, at least in Cosmo's eyes, she definitely improved upon the original in this
Cosmo,
episode.
like, loved the heck out of these. He could not get enough in his mouth.
No, I love Claire turning to Cara and like, I don't know what to do, because he just kept taking more.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, Cosmo, you're ruining the beauty shots.
Oh, see, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think that Claire was concerned that there weren't going to be enough left for photos. I don't think she was actually concerned about Cosmo.
I'm concerned about Cosmo because I'm concerned about malic acid as an ingredient. It seems like it's dangerous. It's actually going to hurt you if you have too much of it. So I was just
that
like, somebody
stomach lining,
stop
R.I.P.
him. Yeah.
I love when it popped up, like, you know, whenever they do the, like, so-and-so's name and what they are, he was listed as a sour expert. I just loved that.
Yes. I didn't know what Warheads were, unsurprisingly, because British problems. But I also don't like sour candy. Like, I'm not here for sherbet, like anything that makes your like face go inwards on itself. So I was just like, I would go nowhere near these. Like, they'd probably kill me, much like they would kill Chris, Super Taster.
Well, as an American kid who was alive when Warheads were probably at their peak, I think I have to say that except for Cosmo, maybe nobody likes Warheads. Because when I was a kid, we ate them, but it wasn't for the pleasure of eating them. It was always for challenges. It was who can keep a warhead in their mouth the longest, who can eat the most warheads, whose tongue bleeds first. It's not pleasant candy.
Does your tongue
Yeah,
bleed?
they were kind of infamous for being like the most like dangerous.
Yeah, like in the
sour.
late 90s, the way that Molly said, like, oh, you know, when Warheads were hot, and I was like, yes, I remember that. For some reason, everything was all about Warheads when I was in middle school.
Does it make your tongue bleed, though? Does it actually do that?
If you've had a lot and you're really sucking on them, yes, I have witnessed that.
Oh my God.
Oh, why? Why would people do that to themselves?
Because they're kids and kids are idiots.
Can't they just eat loads of sugar? That's much nicer.
I'll be honest, I didn't know Warheads still existed until this video. I thought they were a candy of the past.
Well, now their brand is definitely recognized.
Right, yeah.
Have you
they've
seen
been
their Twitter
tweeting.
profile?
Yeah.
Man, the brand really jumped on this exposure.
Good.
That's very smart of them.
Very
Yeah.
smart. Yeah, I was like, you know, you got to take what you can get if you're a brand of the past. Yeah, I was much more enamored with the pastry cream treats that Claire made for the crew, like halfway through. I was like, I'd eat that.
She had so much fun doing it, too. She's like, let's
Yes.
just do this for a minute.
So, yeah, I am pleased for Claire. Like, I agree with you, Justine, in that it was nice to watch her do something that was a new challenge. She was excited about it. She got to work with Cosmo, which I think perked everybody up, including me. Good.
Yeah, and it wasn't like overly long when it
No.
didn't have to be.
No.
Yeah.
But there's no way I would ever try one. Ever.
I did think it was interesting to see the split in the test kitchen of like the way like Andy loved Warheads and so did Priya, and they were just like, yeah, I don't see what the big deal is. Whereas like everybody else is like, oh no, I can't do more than a little bit. And that actually at first I thought, because Claire wasn't finishing a whole Warhead, I was like, well, how is she going to be able to improve on it if she doesn't know what it tastes like all the way through? So I was kind of surprised that she really leaned into the sour more at the end. Like, I wasn't expecting her to, like, up
I
the
think
ante
she was
as
trying
much.
she was trying to impress Cosmo. I think that's what did it. She
Yeah.
was like, I've got to get this kid something that he's like, yeah, that's the one. And he
Uh-huh.
loved it. And Andy was so excited at it as well. Like, he was just so
Yeah.
happy.
I wanted Priya to come back. I wanted her reaction, but I'm sure she just wasn't there that day or something.
I did love that Claire was like, you don't want to try these, Gabby. Step away. I was like, I'm Gabby in this scenario. I'm glad Claire's looking out for her.
I thought it was hilarious how Claire wanted other people to react, or her own reaction to other people's reactions, because she was so afraid about ruining Chris's palate. But on the other hand, I feel like she really wanted to trick Delaney. She seemed honestly disappointed when he didn't react that much. She was like, no chemical burn, and he said no, and very flat and disappointed. She was like, oh. And I feel like she wouldn't have been like that for anyone else. And
No, Delaney could handle it.
Yeah.
Delaney's great. I'm liking Delaney more and more the more videos I watch. But I did feel
agree.
bad that his wine tasting was probably ruined.
Yeah.
I like
That was
she's
funny
like,
when they were
"Let's trade."
interrupting people during the wine tasting.
Yeah.
Just for these warheads. So funny.
So this was a small thing at the beginning of the video, but like the cold open, quote unquote, where she was doing Pepto-Bismol to help with all of the sour. And I was like, oh, Pepto-Bismol is so gross. I feel you, Claire. I feel you. And I also felt bad because they do have pill versions now, so that you don't have to drink the nastiness. Because when I was a kid, my dad was always like, that's what will save you. And then he had to clean up pink puke so many times.
Ugh. I hate Pepto.
On talking of gross things, rubbing your tongue with baking soda.
Oh!
No, thank you.
Oh,
No,
gross.
thank you. This
I'm
is
like,
another
just live
reason.
with the
Just
blue
don't
tongue.
eat them. Don't eat them.
Ugh.
I love the image of a fancy wine tasting going on, and in the background, Claire's scrubbing her tongue with baking soda.
That's not a good movement to do on video. I'm really sorry.
Well, on that note, let's move on to our next video. Brad and Orville Peck make elote.
Who of you guys knew who Orville Peck was before this video? And can any of you, if you did, explain to me why the mask? Like,
Okay.
why is that thing a thing?
I only knew about him because I had seen him on an Instagram story of like Molly and Andy at some festival earlier this year.
Right.
Then I was like, why does that white guy have some weird mask on? Like, what is going on?
I mean, I just kept thinking, like, fine if it's a stage thing, but do you have to wear it everywhere? Is that, like, the law in your world? Like, it must get so annoying. Like, how do you live your life?
I thought the
It's a
fringe was gonna
gimmick.
burn on the grill at one point. Like, when he
It's
was
so
like leaning over.
stupid.
I thought it was hilarious that he went to all the trouble to braid the tassels, and then
Oh.
on the very first bite, they got dirty.
Yeah, I was like, you're braiding your mask. This is really stupid. And you just got mayonnaise in your fringe, dude. Like, what? Like, this wasn't even worth it. It was so stupid.
I mean, I don't know the gentleman. I don't know his music. I know musicians tend to have bigger costumes and a lot of things to stand out, especially I think, being in country music, which is not as popular. I don't know anything about popular music. I don't listen to the radio. But I mean, like Sia has a thing. Everybody's kind of got a thing.
That's true.
He's got to have a thing. I understand it.
That's funny
I
because
just
one
don't
of
know.
one of my notes was just, I don't understand Orville.
Yeah. I mean, I understand it for being on stage and, like, doing your performing. I just don't understand it for, like, eating.
I'm sure he just looks like a regular, normal white guy under there who doesn't look like anybody.
You say that. The other note I had was because we couldn't see his face, so I've got no idea what he actually looks like, but I do know his voice because you can hear that. I was like, has anyone ever seen Orville Peck and Adam Driver in the same room? Because he sounds exactly like Adam Driver.
I read online that some people suspect he is doing this because this is country music that he's doing now, and he's the former like percussionist of a punk band or something. So,
Oh.
but he refuses to comment on that. So, I don't know.
Oh, so it's a Garth Brooks, Chris, whatever situation.
Was it Gaines? Chris Gaines? Whatever. Oh, so weird.
Well, the point of it is that we are talking about it. So
Yeah,
Success.
true. Well done, Orville.
yeah.
okay,
Elote, yeah, I think the best thing about this video, the most hilarious thing about it, was because the tie-in with It's Alive was kimchi, but they couldn't use it because Orville is allergic to shellfish, and they forgot to check that before.
yeah.
And so they changed it to, quote, "It's too late to change the recipe, even though it's now fully outside the scope of the show."
Exactly.
The new title of It's Alive.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And Brad just offering this man mystery powders, and he's like, "Oh, it smells like, like fish." And he's like, "Oh yeah,
Exactly.
Never trust Brad when you've got food
Never,
allergies. Is what
right?
I've learned.
Anything.
So not knowing anything about this gentleman or his music, I was very pleasantly surprised with him as a guest. I thought that he was really friendly. He seemed to be trying to learn and trying to listen. And I especially liked his reaction to Brad all the time. I got the
Yes.
impression that maybe he wasn't that familiar with It's Alive or Brad or the brand, because he just seemed so surprised by Brad's Bradness at every turn.
It was
And
really
I like
funny.
that you could see that Brad was like a big fan of his.
Yes.
Like Brad
Yes.
was like wooing over him.
Yes.
Yes.
Brad was clearly like obsessed with Orville, and Orville was very amused by Brad. So I thought that was a really nice combination.
I thought it was so sweet when Orville put the bandana on Brad.
Yeah, he was
That
so
probably made
pleased.
Brad's year.
It's so
Yeah.
cute.
He swooned. Yeah, so it felt like the dynamic just ended up like it was like a meet and greet that Orville was doing.
Yeah, just Brad was like, let me cook you something that you can't eat. Oh, it's so funny. What I did not like was Brad's injury tales, because I am not here for anyone talking about shaving tips off. No, thank you.
Yeah, let me just say, I've been pretty active on the Bon Appetit subreddit lately, and someone shared the photo.
Yeah, I've also seen the photo.
I regret everything.
Oh,
I
it's too
regret
much.
everything.
Brad showed it on his Instagram stories.
Oh shit, I missed it. I don't
was-
care about blood. It doesn't bother me.
I didn't like
No,
it.
it's just like
literally
there
made
is
me-
a finger without skin sort of business.
I don't like it.
Did he have to get it sewn back on, or do we know?
Did it grow back? Is he a starfish? I don't know.
No idea. Oh my
I feel like that's real. Now that I've learned that Brad is a Taurus, like it's real Taurus energy to like be so bullish about something that you end up shaving your own finger off.
So a couple of my favorite things in this video were the labels for Chris and Andy. Chris was a spoon whisperer, and Andy was percussionist because he was using the mortar and pestle in the background. I seriously, when both of those popped up, I laughed so hard.
Yeah, very good Hunzi editing on this one.
Yeah, I also liked when Brad was showing him all of the crazy powders, and then he'd shown them all, and Orville went, "Oh, but what's this?" And Brad goes, "Oh, that's just my drink." Because it's in the same quart containers that they always use. So funny.
I kind of want to try powdered vinegar, though. I would be down
me too.
to.
Right, yeah. That must be the sort of thing that they use on potato chips, right?
Yeah.
I would have to
Yeah.
assume
Didn't
so,
Claire
yeah.
use that?
I am really looking forward to this cured egg yolk video, though, because they have been curing for ever. So I really want to know when that's coming.
Is he going to get Chris to try them, is the question.
Yeah.
I really like elote, though. Corn
Yes.
and mayo.
I
That
didn't
looked good.
know what that was. I had to look it up.
I knew what it was because they sell it out of carts in Chicago all the time.
Yeah, there used to be a weekly street market right outside of my office where I worked for years. So every Friday, it was elote time.
It's elote time. I would eat it. It looked delicious. I love anything with mayonnaise in it, so great.
I was intrigued for sure. All right, next up we have pro chefs guess and make a recipe based on ingredients alone. I thought this was so much fun.
I do not understand. Well, so when presented with those ingredients, so many of them were it was obvious that they were gunning for something falafel, but so many of them were yeah, but I'm just going to do my own thing. Fuck the recipe. Fuck the point of this episode. Delaney made falafel pancakes. You could have just made falafel. You just went a step too far. I was like, it sounds like you guys don't like the concept of this video, so you've decided to do your own thing anyway.
Especially Priya, who said,
Priya.
I know you want me to make falafel, but I'm not gonna. And Carla, it was pretty funny. She never uttered the word falafel until she was presenting her dish. And Carla was like, I guess this is deconstructed green falafel. So why didn't you make falafel? I also did not understand.
It was funny. I mean, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed their different takes, but that wasn't, I guess, what the producers were hoping would happen. Or maybe they were, I don't know.
I don't know. It was I think it was a cute episode. It was definitely pretty different from everything that they've done before, and it feels very much kind of stolen from Food Network type shows. It felt very game show-esque.
Yeah. But I like that it wasn't timed. I like that it was just here are ingredients, guess the recipe, make it, and see how it goes.
No one made a green sauce, though. Nobody kind of saw the herbs.
I did
and
think
thought,
that
sauce.
was a bit of a curveball,
It was.
especially looking at how they laid out the recipe on the screen. Seemed like kind of a stretch for anyone to guess that that's what the herbs were for, at least in my opinion.
I guess the only thing that might have given that away, and it is a bit of a leap to get there, is the fact that you had to use exactly, they had the exact amounts of the ingredients there, and there were just so many herbs. It was obvious that the herbs wouldn't go in the falafel because there'd be too many of them. Like, what's your only other option then? Either like a salad or like some kind of whiz it up into a sauce. That's the only thing I could think would give it away.
And a lot of them did salads.
A lot did
did
salads.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting how like half the people like made dough out of all the flour and made a flatbread. I thought that was just like they're like, oh, I'm gonna make a flatbread and then I'm gonna fry up the chickpeas and it'll be like a little dish. And I'm like, oh, I like that.
Yeah,
Like,
that was a good idea.
Yeah, a lot of them definitely did that flatbread plus chickpeas sautéed or fried plus salad.
I'm not mad about it. Although it was funny that Sohla kept calling one of the flours corn flour, and they just kept having to put a note up to correct it, like, not corn flour.
I loved how Brad was just like, I'm gonna wing it. Like, he definitely seemed like he had no idea and he was just doing what he could. My favorite moment where I laughed super hard is Brad goes, we're making tahini parsley pancakes, and Chris replies, I don't know that you are.
Yeah.
I lost it.
Chris's shade on Brad's pancakes was really funny.
He's such a bitch.
Christina, like, nailed it pretty much.
Yeah, Christina was the closest for sure. So close to
Yeah.
what the intended dish was meant to be.
I was also impressed that Molly nailed exactly how the falafel should have been prepared. She said, oh, it could have been crispier, maybe dredging it in flour again before.
I think because she developed one of the recipes. Or...
She made a falafel recipe in a video, but I don't believe
Yeah.
it was her recipe.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe that's why she wasn't in this challenge, is because she already knew the ins and
she
outs
would
of
know.
falafel.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Rick makes tie-dye cookies from the test kitchen. I feel like this is a controversial cookie amongst us.
Before we talk about the cookies, that intro though, it's the best thing. I love it so much. He is wonderful. Whoever decided to start giving him elaborate intros is a freaking genius. It's so
Yes.
good.
Well, I like because it's a from the test kitchen, but they make it wholly like his. Like, it's very much his version of From the Test Kitchen. Like, it feels almost like his own show, the way they do the intro and the outro with him.
It's like, you know, like when wrestlers get an entrance. It's like that.
Yeah.
It's so good. So clearly tie-dye is, they said like tie-dye is having a moment, but I was like, is it? I was like, it is in the BA merch store, but is it having a moment
according to Bon
elsewhere?
Appétit it is.
Exactly how I feel about that.
Yeah, it might be a good idea to talk about what we think about everyone copycatting these recipes or trying these recipes, because I feel like Rick makes it look beautiful and very easy to do.
As we knew we would.
Of course. But yes, exactly. But what happens when we see everyone
Justine
doing it in
has
real
thoughts.
life?
I don't know. I knew as soon as this was featured, as soon as I saw the December issue of all the Christmas cookies, which we could also talk about since we've never even mentioned all the Christmas cookies that they presented.
So many.
That I was like, oh, this is going to be a little bit difficult for the home cook because, and especially as I learned in this video, they use specific colors, which are hard to gather.
Also, expensive. Have you looked up how much they are?
Yes.
I don't know what it's like in the US, but I can get them on Amazon in the UK, and they're like 20 quid per bag of one colour.
What the fuck?
So if you want three colours, you're paying £60, and I'm like, no thank you. No thank you.
That's not reasonable for a home cook at all.
I don't know. This technique of tie-dye can get really muddled like really quickly. And especially like depending on what colors you're using, how many colors you're using. I just felt anxiety of the home cooks getting frustrated that their cookies aren't going to look like Rick's. Like that's all I feel is just the anxiety of that, of like they're very choose your own adventure, have fun, but it's not going to be what the professional chef looks like.
Well, it's just so easy to make, but like we all know when you mix too much of colours together, you get brown. And that must be so easy to do in this situation.
Especially since these are being marketed as Christmas cookies. So, of course, people are going to make them red and green. And red and green, what do you get? You get a horrible brown color when they get smushed together. So they were definitely trying to present these as super easy to make, easy to decorate, but they have a lot of punch in the end. So I think maybe that's why they didn't emphasize as much as I think they should have, that you should really only be using one little splotch of color per 3 cookies.
Yeah.
Rick does mention it in the video, but that seemed pretty imperative if you don't want muddy cookies.
Yeah. It's just people have been sharing and tagging the pictures, and I feel like if you read the comments on some people's pictures, they're like, didn't come out so great, you know.
Yeah.
Which we don't generally see those comments on nearly anything when people post when they make something of BA.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like the tie-dye of it, like I know he was really emphasizing that this is a Christmas cookie and that it'll razzle-dazzle at your cookie swap and all of that. But honestly, to me, it felt more like an Easter cookie because of the colors and the tie-dye. Like, I feel like you could incorporate that a lot more into like the whole idea of like dyeing eggs. Now you're dyeing the cookies. And also I think because of the coloring, it seems a lot more spring than it does winter. And so I know that this was like, he developed it and it's on the cover and everything, but it felt like an odd fit for Christmas to me.
Yeah. My controversial take is that I think only maybe 2 of the cookies presented as Christmas cookies actually kind of look like Christmas cookies in this whole batch.
Shots
fired. I'm
fired.
not here to hate, but I was kind of disappointed.
See, this is an interesting point because it's kind of what we saw at Thanksgiving, except translated into Christmas. We have all these expectations about what a Thanksgiving side should be, and it's BA's job to make something different or new, right? So I guess the same could be said about Christmas cookies.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not just going to make thumbprints every year.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've seen so much tie-dye cookie spam from Rick's stories over the last couple of weeks. I am starting to feel like I want to try it. Like, so there's something about, you know, the act of influencing and social media that makes you think maybe, I mean, okay, so everyone else has turned out weird, but maybe mine will be different and I could do it too. And I think I posted on my story, like, I keep seeing these everywhere. I love the idea of them, and I love the idea of them coming out like Rick's. But I'm like, should I try it? Should I don't know, because like it's going to be like Instagram versus reality thing.
I think you're very skilled, LJ. I think that you could pull it off.
Yeah,
well,
less
we'll
is
see.
more.
But yeah, I'll see if I have time. I'm not gonna lie, I have ordered some food coloring, not the one that Rick used because that's ridiculous, but like other good food coloring that is more reasonably priced. If that comes before Christmas, I will make them.
And also, even though there has been a lot of feedback about the icing not turning out as beautiful as intended, the butter cookie recipe itself seems to be a pretty big hit with people who have made it.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of comments that say the cookie themselves taste great.
I thought it was hilarious that Chris wouldn't even eat a glazed one. He was like, I'm having a glaze. I was like, the whole selling point of these is the glaze, but fine.
So one of the special food colorings used butterfly pea. Have you guys heard of this ingredient?
So weirdly, I just found out about blue butterfly pea like as an ingredient this week. Like
it's
literally
so
a couple of days before. Because have you seen a butterfly? I saw it on a menu for lattes as a butterfly pea latte, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And I googled it, and I was like, "Oh, it's like this amazing blue drink." And then I watched the Rick video, and I was like, "What are the chances that's what he's been using?"
Just quick point of clarification: it's PEA.
Yes.
And you might also see it called butterfly pea tea flour. Sometimes flour is thrown in there.
Right.
Another really fun thing about this ingredient is that in liquid form, like in alcohol, I've had gin with butterfly pea. Ooh. It has that beautiful deep indigo color. But then if you add something acidic like lemon juice or lime juice, it turns pink.
What?
It's amazing. I can show you guys. I have some of this gin right now. I'll make a little video. It's amazing.
I thought you meant like right now on Skype you could show us. I was like, ooh.
All right. Our next video is Chris makes easy chocolate cake.
Was it easy?
Yeah. I thought
Good
it
question.
I was going to say, is it not easy? Like, what is it that, I mean, maybe I've made a lot of cake, so I'm just like, yeah, it looks fine to me, but I don't know.
No, I think the cake itself looks super duper easy. I think it's the frosting that introduces a little complexity.
Yeah,
the
that's
double
true.
Boiler.
And they use cream cheese and ganache, which seems excessive, but fine.
Yeah. There's just a lot. There's a lot happening. Where I'm like, I don't think this is as easy as, calm down, Chris. He was very like, if you can't make this, you suck. And I'm like, I don't know, it looks hard.
When he goes and he's like, okay, now you're going to put warm milk on it. I was like, oh, okay, so he's going to pop the milk in the microwave. Nope. He's going to put it in a saucepan and he's going to heat it up that way. And I was just like, that is more. That is a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a microwave, so I would have had to do that anyway. But yeah, I feel like the thing that annoyed me about this recipe is not that whether it was easy or difficult. I guess that just depends on like how you're coming to the recipe in terms of your experience. But the fact that he said that he basically made this recipe up to stop his wife from being too ambitious in the kitchen. And I was like, that's such a Chris thing to do. Like, dude, like, let her fly and spread her wings. Like, you're not the only person who can cook.
Damn.
I know, I was trying to decide if I were the wife in the situation, would I appreciate someone being like, please just make this for me, or would I be insulted?
I'd be
probably
like, fuck off.
Well, was it that she was too ambitious or he didn't like how much of a mess the kitchen was? Like, that's where I was unclear.
She's made
if you're using double boilers, you are making a mess.
Yeah, but like, I feel like if someone's made you a cake, like, don't complain about the mess.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Be grateful for the cake. Don't be a Brad.
Yeah.
How can Brad not like cake?
Yeah, right. I thought that was weird as well. I didn't like that. Cake's a universal, it's the thing that unites us all. Surely everyone likes cake.
He revealed in Noodling Part 1 that he doesn't like cake. This is
yeah,
how
I
deep
know,
into the
I know.
cinematic universe lore we are. But
I thought it was funny that when Chris was demonstrating how you do the greaseproof paper, you measure it out and then you cut it. And then he was like, pen side down. And like, I don't know how much clearer I can make it. And I was like, you're obviously trying to preempt complaints about, but what if the pen gets on your cake? Like, yeah. That was funny.
Well, and the producers clearly also knew, and they asked him, and that's why he like emphasized again.
Yeah, that was funny. I also didn't know that sifting cocoa was so controversial a task. Like, I can think of way worse things to do in a kitchen than sifting cocoa.
Yeah, why did he think that was like, okay, here's the extra step. I'm sorry, we're sifting cocoa. I'm like, okay, you're just pouring cocoa
yeah, it's
in
super
over
easy.
a sifter. Okay, done.
It's not that difficult.
I found that odd too.
Yeah, it was just a very weird episode of like what was determined easy and what was determined difficult. Like, that's what threw me off about the episode.
Yes. And also the fact that he was like, this is super easy. But then at the end, he's like, I had no idea how I was going to frost it. I'm so glad Sarah was there because it's really hard. And I was like, what?
Was it that it was hard, or he didn't know how to do the spoon technique that she used?
Yeah, well, that was the point. Like, he was like, that is how I was going to try and frost it, but I don't know, really. I've not done it very much, so I don't know how to do it. And he was just pleased that he managed to get away with not doing it.
So the woman who helped their cat boy Stova, she's a food stylist, so I would expect her to have really good swooping technique.
Yeah, she was like, do you want the swirlies? Do you want the lines? Do you want the swoops? And I'm like, wow, damn girl.
I thought the end result looked lovely. Cake is top tier dessert for me, but chocolate is almost bottom tier, so it kind of evens out in the middle. Yes, I'm very much like Molly in the chocolate arena. I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I love chocolate so much.
But this cake looked lovely. That deep, rich color and the ganache icing. I thought this all sounded delicious.
The icing seemed complicated, but it did look really delicious. Like, I would eat it. I don't know if I could make it, but I would eat it.
This point, I'm like, you know what? Making it out of the box is easier.
Because it also uses
taste
oil.
Is good. Overall, I liked this video because it was very Chris. Going back to the warming the milk on the stove. I thought it was so funny that at a couple different points in this video, he indicated when it was okay to check your social media feed and when it wasn't okay to check your social media.
Like now,
he is someone addicted to social media.
Yeah.
It's funny because like whenever I see him posting stories now, I'm gonna think like, oh, what's he like waiting for whilst he's doing this?
Next up, we have Ninja tries to keep up with a professional chef in back-to-back.
AKA LJ realizes how old she is yet again.
I like that, like, all the people that go on Back-to-Back Chef, I'm like, I don't know who they are, I don't know who they are. And now I'm like, I know somebody. Yay, I did it.
I didn't know this guy. When I saw it pop up in my notifications that the video had been released, I was like, they got a ninja in to do Back-to-Back Chef, just like a generic ninja. No.
To clarify, I'm not like a fan of his content. I've never watched him. I've never seen his person, but I've just known about the controversy of him.
Right.
Via other gamers.
Do you want to explain what that is for anyone else who's listening and is like, what the fuck?
Yeah, totally. So, Ninja makes lots of money playing Fortnite. He used to only stream on Twitch, which is like the #1 gaming streaming platform. But then Microsoft went and gave him lots of money to stream on their platform, Mixer, which of course would have all of his fans use that platform instead of Twitch. So everybody's like, oh, he's a big sellout, making his monies.
There's other controversy too that I wish I hadn't looked up, much like I wish I hadn't looked at the photo of Brad's finger, but I don't want to go too much into it. But there's other controversy, and I'm sad because I enjoyed the video, but now retroactively I don't think I can anymore.
Well, yeah, that I feel like I know what you're saying, and that happens a lot, especially with YouTubers and people like that.
And professional gamers.
Can you
let's just say some accusations of, well, he's used the N-word, he doxed someone publicly, and he has said on multiple occasions that he won't game one-on-one with women because he feels like it would jeopardize his relationship with his wife. So he's unwilling to give a platform to female gamers, essentially.
Oh, yeah. No. Okay. But rubbing up back to back on Carla while they cook is okay.
Well, that was the thing. I saw a YouTube comment that said, does his wife know that he's in a video with Carla? And I thought, well, what's that all about? And then that led me down this unhappy rabbit hole.
Yeah, he's a very, very, very controversial figure. So that's why all the dislikes.
He didn't seem that controversial on the video. Like, I didn't know who he was, and he just seemed like a guy who likes cooking, although he doesn't know how to cut bread.
Oh my gosh.
Well, okay. I looked at the comments last night. I don't usually look at the YouTube comments, but I was looking at them because Justine had said he was controversial and they'd probably get a bunch of downvotes and stuff on this. So I was like, well, I wonder like what people are going to say. And so I thought maybe it would be bringing up controversies around him. But 90% of the comments I saw were like, he's a ninja, yet he doesn't know how to cut anything.
Yeah, I feel like that was just a lot of people snowballing it of like, oh, he's getting a lot of hate already. Let's just hate on the things that we're seeing here, which they don't do as much for other folks who can't cook on Back-to-Back Chef.
But I mean,
I'm not saying that he's a good guy. He's not a good guy.
Bread! Has he never had a sandwich before? Like, surely he understands how to cut bread. Jeez.
I don't know. It's just when Carla starts saying things like long ways or horizontal or something.
And says things like cut off the outside edge instead of saying cut off one heel of the bread. Or she should have really just said cut a slice of bread.
Yeah. Well, at the point where he was just confused about the avocado, I was like, is this guy an alien? Because he clearly has never encountered food before and knows
he's a multimillionaire. He doesn't need to cook his own food.
Oh, so basically, yeah, he is an alien.
I do have to say about the avocado, I have never cut an avocado because I don't like avocado. But I know how it's supposed to be done. I know that it's supposed to be like the thing where it like pops open and then you hit the knife in the thing and it pops out. Like, because I've seen that on things.
But it was just like the way, the thing that it didn't annoy me. I found it funny, but it was like where the reason it was so funny that he didn't know what to do is because he kept saying that he did know what to do. Like when he was like, yeah, I understand how to cut an avocado. And it's like, okay, sure. So I guess I don't have to be super clear.
How do you think he got to where he is?
Yeah. Well, right. Yeah, exactly.
It was also quite baffling that he apparently worked professionally as a cook.
Yeah,
I
but it
guess
was a
he
noodles
never
and
ever
company.
had to
noodle
cut in that
company
capacity.
just sautéing noodles. Like,
Yeah, he
Pre-
You would think
packaged.
you would have to cut something in that role.
Fast
at
food.
some
Bread.
point. Not bread, no.
Apparently, not bread, not an avocado, and not an orange. He cut that orange.
Not an orange
so
either.
Weird.
He cut the orange vertically instead of across the horizontal center. It was, ridiculous. Kudos to Carla for her control of her expression and
Yes.
reactions when she turned around and beheld that sandwich and didn't just say, "What the fuck did
I
you
would have
do?"
just laughed in his face. I don't have a good poker face. She's amazing. It was so good.
Yeah, great poker face.
But what I would say about Carla is at the end, she was trying to, like, I guess make him feel better by being like, oh, but the way you cut bread, actually, it worked out really well. And I was like, Carla, do not advise that people cut bread like this. It's not. Just don't.
Don't encourage him, Carla.
what did you guys think of the dish?
It looked delicious. It looks
Yes.
like a really good sandwich. I really want to, like, have a go at that because it looked amazing.
I was going to ask, what was the dish called in the end? Because, like, I feel like normally they start off by
Delicious
saying, like,
sandwich.
oh, we're making such a thing. And I don't know if I missed it.
Yeah, the description called it eggs in a basket. Oh, no, sorry, egg in a hole, bacon and cheese sandwich.
Okay. Because when the little preview thing at the beginning showed it, like, going in the middle, I thought maybe they were making some sort of, like, croque monsieur, and then that it was not what was happening.
No, it's not a croque monsieur, but it looks amazing. I thought it looked like a really exciting way to eat a sandwich. Although I would have to admit the avocado, because even though I love it, I can't have it. It's one of my IBS triggers, sadly.
Oh, no.
I know, it's like the bane of my life. I love avocado.
Yeah, I thought this looks great too. I make eggs in a basket pretty frequently, so this would definitely be in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, it reminded me when I was little, my dad used to make this for me, just the egg in the basket. It was very rare that he made it for me because, you know, it's a little difficult. Because it came out of like a children's cookbook that I had. It was called Pirate's Eye.
Oh, cute.
Oh, cute.
You could take
That
the
is
little
cute.
cutout part and toast that and then put it on top like an eye patch.
That's
a
really
good
cute.
idea. Oh my god, that's so
adorable.
cute. I love that.
Yeah, I love this recipe because it does have so many whimsical names like that. They called it egg in a hole in the video. I've also heard it called toad in a hole, although I think that might be something different in the
That's
UK.
a different thing in the UK, yeah.
Yeah, and my husband calls it bread eggs, and I'm like, that's the most unimaginative thing to
Bread
call
eggs.
It's like, did you just point at what it
I want
was
bread
and
eggs.
name
it. Yeah,
it?
he'll be like, can we have bread eggs today?
All right, so we've just discussed avocado on a sandwich. Now we're going to talk about Pro Chef's challenge to plate an avocado in 1 minute on Test Kitchen Talks.
Okay, so we know this. We know the rules. We remember plating a carrot in 1 minute.
I feel like I have to address something at the top of the episode, though.
Oh, yeah.
So my understanding is that plating means the visual presentation of the food on the dish. This is what plating means. It's about looks. It's not about how it tastes.
Right.
End of my impression of what I think we should be looking for here.
But
Go
even
on.
Sohla said, it doesn't have to taste good, right?
Exactly. Because that's what plating is. It's how it looks. That's what the word means in the culinary world.
It's true. Although I just think as a chef, you should always care about how things taste, personally speaking. But yeah.
But that's not the competition.
It's not, you're right. But I just, yeah.
I don't care.
1 minute, not a lot of time, right? Super
No,
quick.
I thought it was a good challenge, especially since avocados are a difficult thing to prep that quickly.
Yeah.
With removing the pit nicely and taking it out of the skin nicely.
I was waiting for some kind of injury with the knife in the pit moment. Because I'm always terrified at that moment when I do anything with an avocado. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
It's going right towards your palm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a lot of just sliced avocado with things on it.
Carla made blobs and dollops
Circles
with
and dolls.
avocado circular tiles. Which I
do
thought was
think
hilarious.
Sola's ended up being, to me, the most visually pleasing. Even
Yes.
though at the start she was like, oh, this is a mess. I thought compared to a lot of the other ones, hers actually looked like a presentation of some sort.
I actually thought Molly's did well when we're talking about pure plating as well, because she'd thought about an interesting way to plate in terms of a different way of presenting the avocado. So she did like curls with a spoon, which I thought was super interesting. And she made this like nice deconstructed salad-y type thing. And Rick's did like sesame encrusted avocado, which was
that
nice.
looks pretty.
I liked Rick's a lot,
It was very extra. I really liked that.
Yeah, I liked Rick's also. The colorful rim on one slice of the avocado contrasted with the plain side. That looked lovely. It was so bold with the contrasting colors and everything. I also really liked Sohla's. I liked Brad's, actually. He was thinking about color. I liked the contrast of the pink pickled onions with the pink peppercorns and the green. It wasn't my absolute favorite, but I think he was thinking about the visuals of it. And I actually liked Delaney's as well. It was really simple, maybe too simple. It was just kind of like that circular top view. It was a little hard to see the whole thing. And they didn't check back in with him post-plating, which was a little disappointing to me because I wanted to see the final product up close a little bit more.
My favourite final flourish was Emil just chucking everything on the plate.
Emil was hilarious in this episode.
He was
making sure those tongs work.
I loved that Emil was singing "I Want to Dance with Somebody" as he
Yes.
was like waiting for the stuff to brown on the stove
with the
or whatever.
wooden spoon. Yeah.
Emil is like such a treasure in these test kitchen talks.
I love
Yes,
him.
he is.
I think he's great. What would you guys make if you were given that challenge?
I know it would take longer than a minute, but like I think I said in our Slack that I was like, oh, I definitely want to make my avocado pesto tonight because
You should.
about it.
You could have
I did.
because you get like the preparation time. You're allowed as much time as you want. You could have like pre-boiled some pasta so that you can just and like prepare all the other pesto ingredients. You can just like smush it all together somehow.
Totally.
So since I've never cut an avocado before, that would probably be the major part of my minute. So I'd probably try to just come up with something that I could just like stick in the center of it and just like
Great
have
idea.
it sit like that.
I also like making, like, I know everybody's like avocado toast, but I also like making that as like a delicious snack where it's like toast and like a layer of hummus and then either like avocados or tomatoes with like balsamic vinegar on top with like salt and stuff.
That's what I was going to say, some form of avocado toast. I would try to do the nice sort of shingling effect that Sohla did. I think that looks lovely, how it kind of fans out. And maybe some furikake on top for like a nice little sprinkle of color.
Well, my favourite thing that I really miss eating avocados for is it's not my recipe, but it's a favourite of mine and my friends. It's something called guacamole. It's a Nigella recipe, and it's a dip that is basically guacamole but with Roquefort cheese in it, and it is fucking-licious. So I would somehow get all my other ingredients ready, and like I'd peel the avocado and just like smash it all in a freaking pestle and mortar with the cheese, and then serve it with like I'd like pre-chop some veg or something like crudités so that it looked nice on a plate. But it is honestly the best avocado recipe in my opinion.
Sounds good.
I feel like you'd have to like be like double fisting. You'd be like
Sorry, oh my god, Amanda.
Listeners, if only you could see what Amanda was miming right now.
I think it's supposed to be two different mortars. Oh my god. I'm not penises. Okay.
I use all of the things at my disposal. Yes.
I'll just stop talking now. All right, our final video today is pastry chef attempts to make gourmet Milky Way bars.
Okay, so you guys having seen the episode will have realised now that when I saw the notification for this, I assumed that she would be making an entirely different candy bar until I watched it. And I was like, oh, these are not Milky Ways, these are Mars bars.
Can you refresh what is a Milky Way bar in the UK?
So a Milky Way bar is basically you have it, but it's called Three Musketeers in the US. So that is what I was thinking of when I saw that it was a Milky Way bar. When I watched the video before she got to the Wikipedia bit and she did all the cross section, I was like, what the fuck is that? That is not. And Russ was watching it with me and he was like, do you not know this? That's not what they're called in the US. And I was like, no. And he was like, we lived there for a year. How did you not figure that out? And I was like, because American chocolate doesn't taste the same. So I didn't eat any chocolate while I was over there. So how would I know? He was like, oh, you idiot.
American Milky Ways are better than Three Musketeers, but
yeah, I prefer Mars bars to Milky Ways in here. Yeah, like definitely. So I'm pleased that she was making what I would call a Mars bar because that's more interesting. But yeah,
and like we used to have Mars bars or
Did
whatever,
you?
but we don't. Yeah, but
Yeah.
they suck. So why would we?
it was a completely,
I have a
like,
really, really
separate-
vague childhood memory of having Mars bars.
so weird. Yeah, I don't know why they're not. It's bizarre. Anyway, so now that we're all on the same page and we know the type of candy she's making,
I genuinely love these like cultural differences. I just think it's so interesting, and because
it is interesting.
it's like something like people are listening to podcasts all over the world and people are watching BA all over the world. So it's not,
That's true.
Yeah, I find it interesting, and I also find like marketing and product development interesting. So I'm always like, oh, why is it that they had to change it? Like, was there a competing product, or like that kind of thing? So yeah, I would definitely go down a Wikipedia hole on this. Yeah, how did you feel about this Gourmet Makes episode, Justine? Given that you're the most vocal critic of Gourmet Makes these days.
Well, I thought it was 40 minutes of Claire makes nougat.
shots
It's
fired.
fine. She doubted herself, and then she was like, well, I guess I'll do the one thing. And then she cried 'cause she didn't want to make it because there was bad things happen. It was not the worst in terms of like Claire feeling pain for me, because essentially like a real actual bad thing happened to the product instead of her just being like, I don't want to do it anymore. You know?
Yeah. I felt so bad for her when she came back after that weekend and she was like, I forgot to cover it. It's going to be ruined. And I was like, no! Oh, because we've all had those moments, I'm sure, when cooking something, when you're like,
Yeah.
fuck, I fucked it up. I forgot to do like this, or I forgot to put it here or whatever. And it's just like, I've got to start again. So I felt really bad for her then.
And it was after her caramel had separated too. Like I felt
Right.
like she did overcome some cooking hardships in this. And
Yeah.
like for me, because I wouldn't, if I tried to make caramel and it separated, I wouldn't know what to do other than cry probably. So I was like, okay, like she's using the double boiler thing, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't dislike this one. I definitely liked Warheads better since we had two Gourmet Makes in this one, but I liked all the, I don't know, Brad showing up, and
Brad was so cute in this episode. I thought Brad was so sweet. The way he bought her the drink and, tried to cheer her up and all that kind of stuff. I thought he was really sweet.
Did any of y'all notice that he said he doesn't make kombucha anymore? That really gutted me. I felt betrayed somehow.
Aww,
I was like, no more kombucha, Brad.
I know.
Now I have to try this yerba mate stuff.
Yeah, that looked like it would be delicious. Just what she needed at that moment in time.
I felt like this was perhaps the most meta Gourmet Makes that we've had to date. I feel like they had a checklist of Gourmet Makes tropes and they addressed all of them. They're like, let's talk about tempering chocolate. Let's talk about how Claire doesn't want to have fun and that she needs to whine because it's, quote, part of the process. And she does a lot of talking to the camera and the producers and the audience, just straight up like, Dan, I don't want to explain what went wrong here. I don't want to explain tempering chocolate for the umpteenth time. So I thought it was interesting, but also I didn't totally like it because it was, again, kind of that snowballing effect of showing more and more how many things about this show that Claire doesn't like and that she
What do
feels
you
like
wanna
she's
do,
being
Claire?
forced to do. Exactly.
Yeah.
She doesn't like reading the ingredients. She doesn't like explaining tempering chocolate. She doesn't like explaining what went wrong. She doesn't like redoing things. Yeah, it gets a little bit unpleasant when we see this over and over.
I also felt that from day one, she seemed really tired. And she kept saying she was exhausted for some reason. And I don't know what else she was doing at that time, like how busy she was. I know she's like writing a book and all that kind of stuff. But it was just like, you got the sense like right from day one before she even started that she was going into it exhausted. And like normally that shows as a product of the process that she's been going through. And I was like, oh no, if she's starting tired, this is going to be very difficult for her, because she's going to see everything that goes not according to plan as like a failure, and like it's going to knock her down. And I sympathize with that because I've been very tired as we get towards the end of the year. My work's been crazy, so I was just like, oh mate, you're starting this tired. Like, I don't know where you're going to be broken by the end of this. At one point, I also thought she was going to kill all of the KitchenAids, because she went through about like 5, I think, in the course of the episode.
I thought you were going to say you thought she was going to kill Chris when he asked about the temper on the chocolate. It's not tempered.
It's not tempered.
I know.
I like that.
And she does also make things difficult for herself almost, because that point where she brought Rhoda in and she was like, oh, my batch of nougat has failed. I was trying to make it better than the last one. And Rhoda's like, well, what was wrong with the last one? And she was like, nothing. Everyone liked it. And she's like, well, why aren't you just using that one then? And she's like, am I allowed to? And it's like, yeah. And I was just screaming at the TV, like, of course you're allowed to. Like, it worked. Everyone, like, Chris was saying it was good.
That's
like,
the thing.
what?
Gets in her head. She's not allowed to do something if it succeeds the first time.
Yeah, it was very odd. And it wasn't until Rhoda, like, gave her permission and was like, what are you talking about? Of course you can, if it works. Like, don't worry. That she kind of was like, oh, okay. I just thought that was really strange.
Sounds like someone who's been through a lot of trauma.
Right?
Maybe they really do need to do a sage smudging to get the
I
kitchen
loved
cleansed.
that idea. I was just like, this is what you need, Claire. You need to draw a line under this. You need to just make things better, and you're going to feel good after that.
Do it, Claire. Attack it with confidence. But do what you want.
Attack it with sage and confidence.
I would like to see her do a smudging. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, they should record that and release a video of smudging the test kitchen.
Gourmet makes smudging. With like artisan sage.
Now that we've recapped, let's discuss what was our favorite video and what dish would we make from this batch of videos. Justine, would you like to start us off? I'm sure Milky Way is your favorite. Just kidding.
This is an interesting bunch of videos. There's not really any super standout for me, except I will say that my favorite video is Sohla makes red lentil zucchini fritters, because yay, Sohla.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, as to what I would make, there are a couple things that I was interested in the toss-up between the zucchini fritters and the falafel. I'm actually pretty interested in making the actual falafel recipe, because I eat falafel all the time, but I've never made it.
Oh.
So that's what I'm going to go with.
I think my favorite was definitely Gourmet makes Warheads. I just had a lot of fun with that one. The hard decision for me was what would I make? Because there wasn't anything that like really jumped out to me in this one. And even though I said I'm not sure if I would make it earlier, I think out of all of these, the quote-unquote easy chocolate cake might be what I would make. And because it's chocolate on chocolate, Christmas is next week. Christmas is my sister Addie, her boyfriend Seth, who made an appearance on my banana nut bread episode. His birthday is Christmas Day, and his favorite cake is chocolate on chocolate cake. I was thinking about buying him a chocolate on chocolate cake for his birthday, but maybe I'll make one for him.
I would be very excited if you did that.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah.
If I have the time is the main thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. What about you, Meg? What's your favorite video and what do you want to make?
I feel pretty similar to what you were saying, Justine. While I enjoyed this batch, I don't know if there's any videos I'm going to rewatch But I did really enjoy Brad and Orville Peck make Elote, It's Alive. I thought it was just a fun, silly video. It's Alive always makes me happy, and it inspired me to go back and watch some old It's Alive episodes because I'm still catching up on the back catalog.
Wow.
Almost done. As far as recipes go, I don't know if we have a step-by-step recipe for this, but I think I'd be most likely to make the eggs in a basket bacon and cheese sandwich from Back to Back Chef.
Oh, that looks so good. I would be tempted to make that as well. Although I think what I'm going to choose is my favourite and the thing I want to make are the same. So I'm here for Rick's just intros, Rick's everything, Rick's whole aesthetic I'm here for. So Rick makes tie-dye cookies was my favourite video, even though I know that if I try it, it may well all end up being some sort of weird brown ugly cookie. But as I say, I've ordered the food colouring. If it comes in time, I'm going to give it a go. So
it's going to turn out great.
Yeah, you can
fingers
do it.
crossed.
Wow, this is the first time we've all picked something different in every
We all
category.
diverged on everything.
Yeah, I want to know what people will choose on Twitter when we do our BA recap draft.
Yes,
Oh,
please
yeah.
let us know. If you haven't been checking in on Twitter, LJ has been doing an amazing job at doing a draft of the videos for you to all choose your favorites.
They're highly controversial every week.
I follow these polls like a hawk. I really love them.
It's always really interesting to see what will go through each round. It's not always what I think it's going to be. So, yeah.
Yeah, meal versus snack was a real dark horse there.
Yeah.
We have some shout outs. Thank you to at Cindy_Clausen on Twitter, who shared some aquafaba tips with us. Jaslyn from Up in 10 Club for listening to the last recap episode and defending Claire's struggles because it means more Rhoda. So I bet she's enjoying the Milky Way one. Also, thanks to Mary, Margaret, Mrs. Casper, and Drunk Dish Podcast for talking to us on social media the past couple weeks. And a big shout out to Molly Baz, who followed us on Instagram. Oh my God.
We all freaked out.
That's just amazing. I don't even...
Yay.
Words cannot express our gratitude.
Molly knows we exist.
Oh my God.
Yay.
I may have just had tears come to my eyes. It's just like blowing my mind. So thanks for getting in touch with us on social media and sharing your thoughts of our episodes. Please keep writing in. We love hearing from you. And then to finish up this week, we'd like to share a review from at EA Heel. They wrote, "This podcast made me feel like I was hanging out with my funniest girlfriends. In the Boozy Ice Pops episode, Amanda's confession that she really doesn't know what she's doing is so refreshing. Also, I love gin, so LJ's expertises was genuinely useful, and I'll be trying my hand at these soon. Highly recommend."
Ooh.
Who knew all my gin drinking would come in handy?
I'm glad you find my complete inadequacy in the kitchen refreshing. Yeah, thank you for writing that review again, EA Heel. And if you want to hear your review read on the podcast, please head over to iTunes and rate and review us there. We'd love to share more of your thoughts on the podcast. Well, thank you, listeners, for joining us this week. Next time on the podcast, it's our Christmas special! So stay tuned.
Thanks for listening to Bon Appétit, a Bon Appétit fan cast.
We'd love to hear from you, so find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest at pod_appetit.
And on Facebook at Pod Appétit Podcast.
You can also email us at podappetitpodcast@gmail.com and find all of our episodes on our website, podappetitpodcast.com.
Until next time, the test kitchen is closed.
Are you looking for a history podcast to grab some quotes for a last-minute paper? Or maybe your presentation on Jane Eyre needs a punch-up?
Then do not listen to us.
Do not.
Like, we're begging of you.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Kelsey, and we host Make It Modern, a podcast where we talk about history, literature, and all things made before the year 2010 in a way that would probably be frowned upon by any teacher.
We basically delve into the past and stumble into the present.
We discuss things like what type of rosé is appropriate for a medieval execution,
And how we've all been Bingley'd one time or another.
So if you love hearing about people, places, and things with so many issues they could be a Julia Michaels song, join us every Thursday on Spotify and iTunes.
And be sure to follow us on Facebook at Make It Modern and also on Twitter and Instagram at @MIM_podcast.